Picture this. It is 11:43 p.m. on a Wednesday. You're sitting on your couch, scrolling through your banking app, and you're doing that thing where you just stare at the number. You know the stare? The one where you're not even reading anymore. You're just absorbing the disappointment. Your checking account says $387. Your next paycheck lands Friday, and your car insurance auto-drafts Thursday. $387. And somewhere across town, in a house you drive past every morning on your commute, a guy named David is also on his couch. Same Wednesday, same time, but David isn't staring at his banking app. David is watching a documentary about penguins because David doesn't think about money on Wednesdays or Tuesdays or really any day that ends in Y. Not because David won the lottery, not because David inherited a fortune. David makes $120,000 a year. You make $95,000. The gap between you and David isn't that wild, but here is the difference. David's money made him $14,000 last year, while he was just watching penguin documentaries. Your money made your landlord richer and made Visa richer. It made the guy who owns your apartment complex richer. Your money worked incredibly hard last year, just not for you. And honestly, that is exhausting to even say out loud. I've spent the last 5 years pulling apart how the wealthiest people on this planet actually move their money. Not the Instagram stuff, not the Lamborghini in the driveway, not the here is my morning routine garbage. I'm talking about the boring, invisible plumbing underneath everything. The pipes that move cash from your pocket into someone else's wealth machine. And what I found made me genuinely angry, because it is not complicated, it is not genius level, it is a loop. A simple mechanical loop that runs in the background, like a dishwasher. Set it, walk away, come back, and everything is clean. Except instead of dishes, it is money. And instead of clean, it is multiplied. I call it the passive extraction machine. And right now, you're inside one. You're just on the wrong side of it. Here is what I mean. You wake up, you go to work. You trade 8, 10, 12 hours of your actual life for a paycheck. That paycheck hits your account, and then like clockwork, it gets shredded. $2,100 to rent, $487 to the car payment, $220 to insurance, $180 to subscriptions you forgot you had. That $14.99 Hulu charge you swore you canceled in March. It is still there, and it is still bleeding. By the time you've covered the basics, you're left with scraps. Maybe $200, maybe $400 if it was a good month. And you do what any sane, tired human being would do with scraps. You spend them a dinner out because you earned it, a new pair of shoes because the old ones are falling apart, a round of drinks on Saturday because you've been grinding all week, and you deserve to feel alive for 3 hours. I'm not judging that. I've been that person, most of us have. But here is the thing that really gets me. While you're running this cycle, month after month, year after year, there is a parallel system operating at the exact same time. Same economy, same country, same tax code, but completely different rules. And the people inside that system, their money doesn't evaporate on the first of the month. Their money wakes up in the morning and goes to work for them. Their money earns money, and then that money earns more money, and that money earns even more money. It is like a Russian nesting doll, except every doll inside is printing cash. You're running on a treadmill, and they built an escalator. And the wildest part, the escalator isn't expensive. It isn't hidden. It isn't reserved for people with trust funds or Ivy League degrees. It is sitting right there, perfectly in plain sight. And you walk past it every single day because nobody ever pointed at it and said to step on that. Now, you might be thinking, cool, another video telling me to invest. Groundbreaking, and look, I completely get it. But this isn't about investing. This is about understanding the machine you're already inside. Because once you see the gears, once you see how your money is being routed away from you by design, you can't unsee it, and that is when things start to change. Let me show you exactly how this works. Now, here is where I need to get brutally honest with you, because everything I just laid out, the cash flow loop, the multiplication engine, the feedback loop, all of it is real and it works. The math checks out, but there is a major problem. And the problem isn't the system. The problem is the absolute mountain of garbage that has been stacked between you and that system your entire life. I call it the comfort lie. It is the collection of beliefs you've been fed since childhood that sound reasonable, sound safe, and sound like common sense, but are quietly designed to keep you spending and keep you borrowing, and keep you running on that treadmill until your knees give out. Let me tear through a few of these, because they're probably living rent-free in your head right now. Lie number 1, you need to spend money to enjoy life. This is the big one, the lie that launches 1,000 DoorDash orders. At 11 p.m. on a Wednesday, you had a rough day. You deserve it, right? Look, nobody's saying you should live like a monk, eating cold rice in a dark apartment. That is not the point. The point is that somewhere along the way, spending became the default emotional response to absolutely everything. Stressed. Buy something. Bored. Buy something. Got a raise. Just upgrade everything. The retail industry spends over $560 billion a year on advertising in the US alone. $560 billion. That is not information. That is a psychological operation. They're not selling you a product. They're selling you the feeling that your current life isn't enough. And it is working. Because you're not buying a $7 latte at Starbucks. You're buying 5 minutes of feeling like things are okay. That is the exact transaction. And Starbucks knows it. Lie number 2. Investing is for people who already have money. This one's my favorite because it sounds so logical, so humble. I only make $45,000. What am I going to invest? My lunch money. And honestly, I completely get it. When you're staring at $312 left in your checking account, on the 28th of the month, the idea of putting money into an index fund feels like a cruel joke. But here is what is actually happening. That belief isn't yours. It was planted. Every financial ad you've ever seen features some silver-haired guy on a yacht. Every brokerage commercial shows someone who already looks rich getting richer. The message is clear. This isn't for you. Stay in your lane, pay your bills, maybe buy a lottery ticket. That entire framing is completely deliberate. Fidelity's own data shows that their best performing accounts belong to people who were either dead or forgot they had the account. The barrier was never the dollar amount. It was the belief that you didn't belong at the table. Lie number 3. Debt is normal. Everyone has it. The average American household carries $104,000 in debt. Student loans, car payments, credit cards, and medical bills. Because everyone around you is drowning in the same pool. It feels fine. It feels completely normal. That is like standing in a burning building and saying, well, everyone else is on fire too. So I guess this is just how buildings work. No, debt isn't a lifestyle. It is a product. Banks made $105 billion in interest income in just the first quarter of 2024. You are not their customer, you are their crop. They plant the credit card offer, and they water it with a 0% AP. And they harvest you at 24.9% 12 months later. That is not a financial service. That is farming. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but some debt is necessary. Mortgages, education, starting a business. And look, fair point. Not all debt is predatory, but here is what most people don't think about. The system never actually teaches you the difference. Nobody in high school sat you down and said, here is leveraged debt that builds equity, and here is consumption debt that eats you alive. They just handed you a diploma and a pre-approved credit card application, right in the exact same envelope. And that is the real scam. It is not that the information doesn't exist. It is that the entire infrastructure around you, the ads, the social pressure, the algorithms pushing luxury hauls, and treat yourself content into your feed at 1 a.m. All of it is engineered to keep the comfort lie alive. Because the moment you stop believing it, the moment you see spending as a system input instead of a reward, you become dangerous. You become someone who redirects the flow. And the $560 billion advertising machine does not want that. All right, let's get into the actual mechanics, the real numbers, the stuff that separates people who talk about wealth from people who actually build it. Because here is what I'm tired of. Everybody wants to say invest your money. Like, that is a complete sentence. That is like telling someone who is drowning to just swim. Cool, swim where? How? With what energy? So let me give you the actual blueprint. The cash flow loop has 3 stages, and I already walked you through the concept. Now I'm going to show you exactly how each stage works. With real math, real tools, and real timelines. No fluff. The first mechanism is what I call the interception rate. This is the percentage of your income that gets redirected before you ever see it, before your thumb ever opens the Chase app, before you scroll past that balance and think, hey, I can afford dinner out tonight. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average household earning $78,000 a year spends roughly $72,000. That leaves $6,000. $6,000. That is your entire annual margin for building wealth. That is $500 a month, less than most people's car payment. But here is the thing that really gets me. That $500 isn't even being saved by most people, it is getting absorbed. A $14 DoorDash fee here. A $10 subscription you forgot about there. A $47 treat yourself moment at Target on a random Wednesday because you had a bad day at work and the candle aisle smelled nice. So the interception has to be automatic. Not optional, not I'll transfer it when I remember. You set up a recurring transfer the day your paycheck hits. It leaves your checking account before your brain even registers it arrived. Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, literally any brokerage with Auto Invest. You pick a low-cost SIBI 500 index fund with an expense ratio under 0.1%, and you let it pull that money like clockwork. The second mechanism is the multiplication engine, and this is where most people's eyes glaze over. So I will keep it stupid simple. The S&P 500 has returned an average of roughly 10% annually. That includes crashes. That includes 2008. That includes COVID. That includes every time some talking head on CNBC screamed that the sky was completely falling. You might be thinking, yeah, but 10% on 500 a month is nothing. Wrong. You need to do the math. 500 a month at a 10% average annual return. After 10 years, you're sitting on $102,000. You only put in $60,000, the other $42,000. That is your money making money. After 20 years, it is $382,000. You contributed $120,000. The rest, $262,000, came from compounding. After 30 years, $1.13 million. You put in $180,000 total. The system generated over $950,000 on its own. That is not a typo. That is not some fantasy scenario. That is basic index fund math that any compound interest calculator on the internet will confirm in about 4 seconds. And we haven't even touched on the third mechanism, the feedback acceleration. This is where the loop becomes self-sustaining. Once your portfolio hits a certain mass, the returns themselves start generating serious income. A $382,000 portfolio, throwing off 10%, is producing $38,200 a year. That is $3,183 a month in passive income from doing literally nothing except not touching the account. Now I know exactly what you're going to say. I don't have $500 a month. Fine. Start with $100. Start with 50. The math still works. It just takes longer. Someone investing 100 a month at 10% still ends up with 226,000 after 30 years. That is from putting aside roughly $3.30 a day. That is less than your morning coffee at Starbucks. That is less than 1 month of the Netflix subscription that you watch for 20 minutes before falling asleep. The point isn't the amount. The point is the system. The automation, the consistency, the discipline to not touch it. When the market drops 15%, and your coworker Dave says he is moving everything to cash. Because here is the brutal truth about the multiplication engine. It doesn't reward the smartest investor. It doesn't reward the best stock picker. It rewards the person who shows up every single month, rain or shine, bull market or bear market, and feeds the machine. That is it. That is the entire secret. Automate, invest. Don't touch it. Let time do what time does. It is not sexy. It is not exciting. It won't get you a Lamborghini by Thursday. But it is the exact same boring, mechanical, ruthlessly consistent system that the wealthiest people on this planet have been running quietly in the background, while everyone else argues about crypto on Reddit. And here is the part nobody wants to hear. You already knew this. Some version of it, anyway. You've heard pay yourself first before. You've seen the compound interest charts. You've scrolled past the infographics. You've saved the TikTok, liked the post, maybe even bookmarked an article at 1:23 a.m. while lying in bed, telling yourself that you'll start on Monday. Monday came, Monday went, and you opened DoorDash instead. I'm not judging you. I'm describing myself 3 years ago. I'm describing almost everyone I know. And honestly, I'm exhausted by the conversation around why people don't start. Because the real answer isn't laziness. And it is not stupidity. It is something way darker than that. You don't start because you've already decided who you are. Sit with that for a second. Somewhere along the way, you built an identity. Maybe it sounds like, I'm not a money person. Maybe it is that investing is for people with real income. Maybe it is the quieter one, the one that just whispers. People like me don't get to build wealth. That voice didn't come from nowhere. It was installed, drip by drip. Every time your parents fought about the electric bill, every time a teacher told you to focus on getting a good job, instead of understanding how money actually moves, every time a bank approved you for a credit card at 24.9% APR and called it financial access. That identity, that I'm not the type of person who builds wealth identity, that is not yours. You inherited it, like a hand-me-down jacket that doesn't even fit, and you've been wearing it so long you forgot. It is not your skin. Here is what keeps me up at night. The gap between knowing and doing isn't information. It is identity. You can hand someone the entire blueprint, every number, every mechanism, every automation trick, and they will nod, agree, and feel inspired for about 45 minutes. And then go right back to being the person they believe they are. Because the person they believe they are doesn't do this. The person they believe they are checks their balance on Friday and winces, and orders takeout anyway because it has been a long week. The person they believe they are watches their 401k statement arrive in the mail and throws it in the junk drawer unopened. That person isn't broken. That person is performing a role. That was written for them by every institution that profits from their exhaustion. And I need you to fire that version of yourself. Tonight, not tomorrow. Not when things settle down. Things don't settle down. That is the lie. There is no calm season coming where you'll magically have margin and motivation. You build the system inside the chaos, or you don't build it at all. I know what you're thinking. This guy is being dramatic. Maybe. But let me ask you something. What is the alternative? You keep doing what you're doing for another decade. You're 10 years older, your knees hurt more, your rent is higher, and you're still Googling how to start investing at midnight. like it is some kind of mystery you haven't already solved 6 times. That is not a life plan. That is a slow motion hostage situation, where the kidnapper is your own comfort zone. The cash flow loop doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care if you're confident. It doesn't care if you feel ready. It is math. It runs on autopilot. It doesn't need your identity to cooperate. It just needs you to set it up once and get out of the way. The cruelest part of this whole thing: the system works perfectly whether you use it or not. Right now, tonight, somebody's money is compounding while they sleep. The only question is whether it is yours, or whether you're the one funding theirs. Through your rent payments, your interest charges, your subscriptions, you are funding it with your consumption. You are not a consumer. You've just been cast as one in a play you didn't audition for. The treadmill doesn't stop when you're tired. It stops when you step off. And stepping off doesn't require courage or genius or a windfall. It requires you to stop being the person who watches videos like this and then literally does nothing about it. That person is dead. Let them go. Because 20 years from now, you're either the person who built the loop or the person who explained to themselves very eloquently why they couldn't. And honestly, both versions of you understood the math perfectly. Only one of them actually moved. If this hit different, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.